menorah. A lot to be said about the menorah. And we've got a lot to say. Some of you may have heard some of this stuff before. Some of you may not have heard any of this before. And that's cool, because if not, you're going to do it again. So, the menorah was the only light in the holy place. Okay, that's something we need to understand. It was the only light in the holy place. Okay? The menorah burned in the presence of God. And the scripture where it says in the presence of God, in reference to the tabernacle, it means in the holy place. Every time you see in the presence of God, it means the holy place in the tabernacle. So what this says is that it burned in the presence of God. That word there for presence is panim, which is face. So it burned in the face of God. Where have we heard light and face going together? Ya'er Adonai panav elecha. What is that? May the Lord make his face shine upon you and to be gracious to you. Here's something else. In traditional Orthodox Jewish literature, the menorah is referred to as the light of the world. You think in John 8:12, when Yeshua said, I am the light of the world, that was something new? Think they didn't know? Oh, he's got this new great revelation. He's saying he's the light of the world. He was speaking to them what they knew and what they understood. This was called the light of the world. So he said he is the light of the world, right? How many stems were on the menorah? 7. So when we understand that the things that are here on earth is a copy of the eternal, let's look at this. So the menorah was before the Lord, before his face, in his presence, right? And so what's on top of the menorah? The lamps that hold what? Fire. Right? So look at this. Revelation 4:5. From the throne came forth lightnings, voices, thunderings, and before the throne, before the Lord, his presence was what? 7 flaming torches, which is the sevenfold Spirit of God. So before him was a menorah with these sevenfold torches, which is the sevenfold Spirit of God. Where else do we see the sevenfold Spirit of God? Isaiah 11. Let's look at it. So a branch will emerge from the root of Jesse, and a shoot will grow forth from his roots. 1, the Spirit of Adonai will rest on him. That's 1. 2, what? Spirit of wisdom, of understanding, Spirit of counsel, power, Spirit of knowledge, and fearing Adonai. How many is that? The sevenfold Spirit of God will rest on this root of Jesse, which is who? Yeshua. So when we look back in Revelation, it talks about the sevenfold spirits of God, which is before the Father. It represents Yeshua being before the Father, the sevenfold spirits of God dwelling with him and dwelling on that root of Jesse in Yeshua. So in other words, this menorah is not just something really pretty to look at. It represents Yeshua, who is the light of the world, who has the sevenfold Spirit of God dwelling within him. Look at this. The menorah has how many almond bulbs? 22 almond bulbs, and then an almond branch and a bulb and a flower. And you read this, so it's a branch, a bulb, and a flower. And then this other, it had a branch, a bulb, and a flower. And then the other stem had a branch, a bulb, and a flower, right? So when you look at this, you gotta say, okay, so what's the big deal with the almond thing? Okay, when you read about almonds and branches and things like that in Scripture, you should think of Aaron's rod, because Aaron's rod was an almond rod. And what does it represent? What does Aaron's rod represent? Remember the thing with Korah, right? So after the uprising of Korah, the rebellion of Korah, God says, I will show you who I have chosen to be priest for me, right? And what was they told to do? Take 12 sticks, and upon each stick write the leader of each tribe. And for the tribe of Levi, write Aaron. Put them all before the Lord. And then the next day, he whose rod blossoms and buds and brings forth fruit, that is the one I have chosen, right? So then what did Aaron's rod produce? It blossomed, it budded, and it gave almonds, right? And God said the representation of that was, that's the one that I have chosen to represent you and to represent, me to you and you to me. And it was the high priest, Aaron. And so it represents the authority of God that was given there. The authority was given to the high priest. Right? So who is our high priest? See? Again, so what does this have to do with here? Jeremiah 1, 11 and 12 says this. The word of Adonai came to me asking, Jeremiah, what do you see? And I said, I see a branch of an almond tree. And then he said, you have seen well, because I am watching to fulfill my word. Now in English, that doesn't make sense. What do you see, Jeremiah? Well, I see a branch of an almond tree. That's great, because I'm looking to perform my word. Huh? I don't get it. What did I miss? But in Hebrew, it's a play of the same word. And it is. Because what do you see? I see the branch of an almond tree. An almond tree is shaked. Shaked. And then he says, God says, but you have seen well, because I am looking to fulfill my word. That watching is shoked, which means to be a watchman. I am watching with intent of doing what I say. See? So the almonds represent the authority and God fulfilling His word. Zechariah 4:2 says this. So he said, what do you see? And I answered, I've been looking at a menorah, and it's all gold with a bowl at its top. 7 lamps on top of it, and 7 tubes leading down the lamps at its top. And verse 10 says this. So these 7 are the eyes of Adonai that range all over the earth. What does an almond look like? What's its shape? It even looks like an eye. See? So God says it's a representation of what He is watching to do, and what He is performing, and what He is doing. So when we look at this, the 22 almond bulbs, how many letters are in the Aleph-Bet? 22. Ooh, now this is kind of interesting. 22 in Scripture represents God's justice and judgment. We don't know exactly how it works, so there's a lot of speculation here. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of tradition, if you guys aren't going to stone me for telling you a little bit of tradition, okay? The high priest had a breastplate. The breastplate was not made of solid gold, okay? It was woven, and each stone had a gold setting, okay? You're like, heretic, right? So each stone had its own setting, and it was woven, and then it was folded over, so it had a pocket. You can find that. That's true. That's not the tradition part, okay? Now, in the pocket, he had these things called Urim and Thummim. We don't know what they look like, okay? They've been lost. We don't know what they look like. But we do know what they represent, because God said that the high priest is to take the Urim and Thummim, to put them in the Hoshen Mishpatim, the breastplate of judgment, and to come before the Lord to hear from the Lord, so that He can judge, so He can discern, okay? And so when we look at this, Urim is from the word or, which is what? Light. Thummim means perfect. So the Urim and the Thummim mean perfect light. And so light, okay, so that's got to be a play of what? Light. So it has something to do with, you want to guess? Light. All right? So then it says that he is supposed to take this and go before the Lord. So we know where he was supposed to go. We know he's supposed to put him in the breastplate. We know he's supposed to go into the holy place and stand in front of the menorah, because that's where it was. We don't know what happened after that. Okay? But let me kind of give you an idea. All right? They believe that the lights in the Urim and Thummim would shine through the stones, and that it would somehow interact with the light from the menorah. And God said, and somehow this interaction, the high priest would be able to discern what he was supposed to do. Well, how would that happen? It's thought that on each of these places, the almond bulbs, the Aleph-Bet was written. And if that was the case, it would be 3 letters, 3 letters, 3 letters, 4 letters, 3 letters, 3 letters, 3 letters, 22. And if you write them out and you kind of do that, it's kind of interesting how it breaks out, and you kind of see something neat. Let me ask you this question. The center branch, center stem of the menorah is called what? The servant, shamash. The servant branch, because it's what feeds the other ones, right? It's where the other ones branch off from. So it's the servant. Yeshua said, I came to serve. And we know that the menorah represents him anyway. We've already established that. And so the servant is the very center there, right? So if we take the Aleph-Bet and we look and we put the letter of the Aleph-Bet on each of these places, it's kind of interesting that when you break it down and you look at the center, it says something. And if you start at the bottom and go up, because he came to elevate us, right? To bring us to him, it spells a word. Now, before I go there, I want to show you something interesting. At the very top is the letter Yod. What is Yod? Hand. So on the very top of the servant is the hand. My guess is whose hand? The hand of God. It is Yeshua, right? So if you take this word, it's Malchi. Malchi means my king. That's cool. Because when we understand that he is the light of the world, he is a representation here, he is the one who is our king, and he said that the king came and served. That, in the Menorah, you have the gospel. It's an amazing, and there's more. We don't have time to really get into all of it. But there's more there, just to say what he's revealing. Well, if this teaching has blessed you, I want you to check out our other resources. You can check out our website at www.ruachonline.com. And there's links there to other resources that are available to you, other teachings, other books, other offerings. You can go to YouTube, Facebook, all of these things from our website, and check us out, because if you enjoyed this teaching, there's going to be much more that hopefully will bless you as well. Thank you. Hi, this is Dr. David Jones from Ruach Ministries International, and I've got some exciting news for you. We have a new series coming out, 6-part series of the Gospel according to Abraham. Abraham? What does he got to do with the Gospel? Well, you're going to have to find out, aren't you? The thing is, Galatians 3 says that the Gospel was proclaimed to Abraham. So what does that mean for a believer today? What does that mean to a person who is not Jewish? What does that mean to a person who is Jewish? What does that mean for all of us today? Well, check it out. It's a good series, and it'll be coming your way soon. For more information, you can check out our website at www.ruachonline.com. Hi, this is Dr. David Jones here. I just want to say we do have some other resources available to you, one of which is a book entitled Famine, Walking in Blessing in the Time of Famine. It's based out of Amos 8, 11, and 12, talking about there's a famine of hearing the word of the Lord. So what is that famine? Does it mean the word of the Lord is not being proclaimed, or does it mean there's a famine of actually listening to it? Food for thought, isn't it? Well, if you want to know more, check it out. Go to www.ruachonline.com, and there's a link on our homepage. Just click and it'll take you to more information on the book entitled Famine, Walking in Blessing in a Time of Famine. Well, how important are the feasts of the Lord? I think we can say that if the Lord set out a banquet, set out a table, and invited you to come be a partaker, would we answer? Would we hear? Would we go? Or would we blow him off because we have something more important to do? Well, that's what this book is. The King invites you to his table. Are we going to answer the call? The feast of the Lord, appointed times where the Lord has said he wants to meet with us face to face. Will we heed? Will we answer? Will we go? Check it out, www.ruachonline.com. On the homepage, there is a link to take you for more information. The King invites you to his table.